So, why do we need sustainable development? I guess you're all pretty familiar with this, planet Earth. And it has a lot to do with sustainability because this is what we want to sustain. But I think in order to respect it, we also have to understand some fundamental basics about the Earth as a system. So we have the atmosphere, and then we have the biosphere, which contains all the living things within the Earth. And this is a closed system which follows the second law of thermodynamics, which means that matter, it can't be created nor destroyed. It can only change its form. This means when we, for example, extract oil and gas from the Earth's crust to produce fossil fuels, when we burn that fossil fuel, it doesn't disappear. It's just going to change form and become greenhouse gases. And you also need to know some history about the Earth. We had the glacier period, and we are now living in the so-called interglacial period. And something happened with the climate 10,000 years ago. It got more stable, temperature risen, and we also got more regular precipitation. And at this time, the human population, they noticed that they could actually start to grow crops. So they no longer had to go out and gather the food or hunt the food. They could grow it and produce it themselves. So with this stable temperature and stable climate, this is what the scientists call the Holocene. And when the food production started to develop, the human population also increased, which meant that the food production could increase even more, and so did the human population. So we are now entering a phase, what the scientists are called Anthropocene, which means that the human species is the most dominant on the planet. Today, in the biosphere, the dry mass of man-made concrete and steel are greater than the dry mass of all biomass, which means that we have produced a lot of stuff. We have changed form in a lot of stuff. So we need to somewhere get to sustainable development because now we have these uneven flows and we have to reach this circularity within the flows, which is strongly connected to sustainable development. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability for future generations to meet their own needs. This is one of many definitions of sustainable development, and this one was formed by the Brundtland Commission in 1987. But how come that we have known this definition since 1987, but we are still somehow compromising the ability for future generations to meet their own needs? So why do we need sustainable development? Is it to produce more housing and concrete and steel? In one way, yes, for development. Or is it to earn and to save more money within the business sector or private sector? Yes, it's also that. Or is it to sustain and restore nature? Yes, that's also about sustainable development. So we have the Holocene, and because of the Holocene, we have been able to develop, because we are very dependent on the seasonal variation of precipitation and temperature, and the middle global temperature have been kind of the same for the last 10,000 of years. But since the Industrial Revolution, we have managed to change that. So we need sustainable development so we can sustain Holocene and also to produce and develop the society. So we don't really have to worry about the planet because the planet will be fine. It will probably enter another glacial period or another heating period. What we have to worry about is to sustain Holocene so we can start develop or continue to develop. So we need to start to develop within the boundaries of the Earth because that is sustainable. My name is Johanna Sundström. I have a bachelor in environmental science, and thank you for listening.